Okay. So good morning. I'm Megan Bettinger with the Colorado Respite Coalition, and this is our once quarterly statewide meeting. Thank you all for being here. If everyone would be so kind as to enter your name and your organization and contact info in the chat, that would be really helpful for us. And we are obviously going to be recording this, and we will be posting it to the CRC website. Today, let's see, sorry. So today we're going to do regional coalition updates, recap of our Western Slope meeting, and planning for Southern Coalition meeting. We're going to discuss respite grants that are available, and our panel today is volunteer-based respite programs. And then the next statewide Colorado Respite Coalition meeting is going to be on August 2nd, which is a Wednesday. And yeah, and at the end, Erin's going to put the link in the chat. We also have the link on in the slides too. So. Okay. Oh, I'm going to hand it off to you, actually, Erin.
Cool, great. Can you actually remove your audio for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. Cool. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So you've probably received an email from me, and then I also wanted to take a moment to kind of give you a heads up that you may be receiving emails from me, depending on if you have indicated on our newsletter that you're interested in hearing news from a particular region, or if we know that your agency is in a particular region. As we are in the process of rebuilding our regional coalitions, I'll be extending invitations to the meetings to you. And you know, they're always optional, but we just want folks in these areas to know that the coalitions are meeting. So yeah, the regional coalitions were established to address unique needs. And we know, and there is actually data behind, when respite providers, community partners, and family caregivers are linked, it provides a stronger safety net and results in better care. So that is why we are going to continue, this effort and this initiative to rebuild our regional coalitions. And there's also an infographic linked here, which I'll pop in the chat here in a minute, from Arch, National Respite, about how to make the most of your regional, or how to make the most of a coalition. And it just has a lot of helpful tips to help make these coalitions successful. So can you go to the next slide? Mm-hmm. So a little bit of the history. The regional coalitions prior to COVID, these county listings were based on participation. So the regional coalitions aren't, a concrete solidified thing. This is just how they worked in the past, and they were meeting, and we have some old materials and some old contact lists and stuff like that from back when the regional coalitions were active. And yeah, so that's where we're trying to get back to, is just having these regular meetings in your areas. But then along with that, we are in the process of convening the Southern Coalition, which the name is a little bit of a misnomer, as you can tell from the counties that are listed there, El Paso and Pueblo. And then can you go to the next slide? So we had one meeting of the Southern Coalition so far, and we met with, there were representatives from all of these counties. So a pretty large geographic area, as they tend to be. And this coalition is still in the process of talking about what will work best in that region. But for now, our goal is to just continue meeting, continue making connections, and continue to learn who's in these new roles. as staffing changes and people move and programs change and that kind of thing. So so anyway, we are meeting this group. So if you're anywhere in and around these areas, this group is meeting again on May 24th. And if you're interested in being part of that meeting, feel free to shoot me an email. And then with that, we will go ahead and I'm going to introduce Sandra Acevedo. She's out in Grand Junction. And so Sandra, yeah, can you chat a little bit about our successful Western Slope Regional Coalition meeting?
Yes, thank you, Erin. And I think Rob is here as well, who's one of the persons that helped kind of get this started and going. I don't think I've seen Eva, but yeah, we had a really good participation. We had 21 people attend, 8 in person and 13 virtual. So we decided to continue the format to do a hybrid, since some people like the virtual stuff, some people like the personal stuff. We had some really good conversations as to what we wanted the goal of the coalition to be. And even we tried to troubleshoot some of the things that seemed to be barriers in the past, just to make sure that everybody was on the same page. So, we talked about, do we want to stay as a lifespan coalition? Did we want to separate between ages? And same thing with regions. We have a pretty big region when we look at the whole Western Slope. So we talked about, do we want to stay within just Mesa County and just Montrose County? But all the participants that were there, they said that they don't mind working with people that don't necessarily serve their population or maybe their area, because they can learn from each other. So I think that's one of the things that we took from the meeting, is that people really do just want to be there to learn from each other and to collaborate and to learn what's working, what's not working. And so we're really looking forward to doing that. We're having our next meeting next week. And we have an agenda, and everybody was very excited at the meeting. There were definitely a lot of different topics that they wanted to tackle. And so that's going to be our next focus, is like, what do we want this coalition to focus on? And what do we, there were a lot of great ideas thrown out there. So we're going to be focusing on actually maybe solidify one of those or some of those, but we're going to try to start slow. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of interest on the coalition to just want to make things better for respite, whether it's information, sharing the information, or coming up with common practices, or just, knowing what's out there and being less silo. And so, yeah, we're excited about our meeting on the 11th. Rob, did I miss anything that you can think of?
No, thank you, Sandra. That covered everything. And, as a parent and not necessarily a professional, I just want to highlight how welcoming and organized it was for even parents and those of us that are seeking the respite care. So thank you guys very much for having us, even as non-traditional participants.
Yes, and we're so lucky to have Rob giving us their parent perspective, because as we spoke with the rest of the group, and we just did not think this was something that we can open up to the parents at this point. However, one of our focuses, or one of the ideas that got thrown out there, is doing things for the parents, like educational nights, or things where we can share what we're coming up with the meetings with the parents, but not asking them to give 2 hours of their life every other month when they already have so much to do. So we're really lucky to have Rob as the parent perspective in our coalition as well.
Yeah, thank you both so much. And then, yeah, so I stuck the infographic from Arch in the chat. And as Amy stated for us so nicely, it just demonstrates a national model and how little goes a long way. And yeah, sometimes the bigger groups meeting, it's fun to, meet everybody and hear what everybody's working on. But meeting in smaller groups is helpful and constructive, and can produce a lot of good things as well. So yeah, so that's our spiel on regional coalitions, and you can definitely expect to hear more from us on that coming up. So So thanks, Megan, for the time, and I'll give it back to you.
Megan, you're still muted. Sorry. Still can't hear you.
Gosh, there we go. Okay, I think I'm on now. Okay,
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
sorry. I thought I was talking to Aaron's. Anyway, okay. So many of you on this call might be aware of our state respite grant, respite care grant that we offer every year through Colorado Department of Human Services. And we released the application April 17th. And so we've, over the last few years, we've gone through some changes, and we're trying to extend the time that that agencies have to actually utilize the funding. So right now we're aiming for July 1st start date, and the applications are due May 26th. There is a link here, and I think it'll probably be in the chat, or we can send it to you for the application. It directs you to the Colorado Respite Coalition website, and then you can download the packet there. To submit the application on the same website, there's this, it says submit. So you go through this portal to submittable website. If you don't already have an account, you just need to create an account, and then you will answer some questions on the form, and then you will upload all of your documents. If you have any questions, my email is right there. So also another change that we made this year was to have the award range from 5,000 to 30,000. Last time it was the highest range was 35,000. And we just thought that we would be able to help more agencies with by lowering that highest amount there. We expect to do awards in June, and like I said, with a July 1st start date, and then the end date would be June 1st, 2024. And then all the reporting and documentation would be due to me on the June 15th, 2024. If there are any questions about the application process, or about the nature of your program, another thing that I want to point out is they have to be programs that are already running, no new programs, and it has to be used for respite care only, and no food or beverage should be built into the application. And that's about it for that grant. There were a couple of other grants that may fall into the audience here, which is one through AmeriCorps for Volunteer Generation Fund, and then the ACL Family Caregiving Grants. And those are, let's see, there's the information call. And if anybody wants to know, we can send the email out with more information, but I would encourage you to join the information call this Thursday. And I think that's it on that. So we're going to move into our panel. We're a little bit ahead.
Actually, you want to do questions about the grants?
Oh, sure.
Let's just open questions.
Sure. Are there any questions about the Colorado Respite Care Grant?
So you said you would send out an email with this information?
Yes, we can do that.
No, well,
Or-
that was about the ACL.
Yeah, that was about the ACL, but we can do that too.
Which
All
one
right.
does he want information?
Yeah, which one would you like information
I
about?
mean, all three, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, and I'm going to attend this is Amy Harris. I'm with the State Unit on Aging. And so I received this. ACL is the Administration for Community Living. That's the federal administration that administers the Older American Act funds that the state unit gets. So I get all their emails. Probably a bunch of other folks on this call get their emails. They're always announcing grant opportunities and that sort of thing. But this one is specifically for family caregiving. So that was why we thought it was particularly relevant to this call, although we don't know too much. So I'm going to be on the call tomorrow. We can send out the email, and there is a site, they call a NOFO site, a Notice of Funding Opportunity, where you can go and get some more information too from ACL. But I'm going to go ahead and join the call to see what the deal is, just to break it down a little bit more. The 20 million they anticipate they're going to distribute to probably 5 different organizations on the order of getting about $1 million per year for 4 years. That's my understanding.
Mhm.
So, and they're all intended for different aspects of how to improve family caregiving support throughout the states. So, so that one is sort of the biggest question mark for us. We just learned about it yesterday. So we were like, oh, we better throw it on this presentation. But the respite grant opportunities that Megan started talking about, the ones on the top, that is state funded. So that's Colorado funded. And I think the application process really ain't too bad. Like, it's compared to a lot of grants and stuff that you can see the application for. It's, I think, a pretty straightforward application process. And, you know, there's really just so much that can be done, even though it's just for respite. Respite can look a lot of different ways. So we're really hoping to get a lot of great applications for that grant. So if you are interested, then please take a look, or if you know others who might be interested. Another thing that I can't remember if Megan mentioned, but you don't have to be a nonprofit organization. You can be for-profit too. So you could be a for-profit, nonprofit, governmental entity. So those of you who might be associated with area agencies on aging, you would be eligible for this grant if you provide your own direct respite services. So it's really just an awesome opportunity to boost your respite, what services you're able to offer to folks. So I'm just doing a hard sell on that because I'm pretty excited about it. But yeah, we'll be able to follow up with information on all of these grants too, in a follow-up email. And then you can always go to the CRC website too. And there's information posted there as well. All right, thanks, Megan. Thanks for letting me jump in there.
No, I appreciate it, Amy. Thank you.
I'm going to do a short break and just like let everybody take a break.
Okay.
And start a little closer to 9:30.
Okay, so we're offering a break right now, and to come back at not 5-minute break maybe, and then we'll start our panel, our volunteer-based respite programs panel, and we'll have 4 speakers today. And so we'll just stop recording and take a break till what, 9:27, 9:28, 9:28? Sounds good. All right. Oh, there's these.
Good.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Hopefully everybody's getting back in settled. Okay, so we have a panel, we've put together a panel of folks that have agencies that utilize volunteers, sorry. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with Sean Rensel. yes, from
Yeah.
Night Lights. And I'm just gonna give it over to him. And I will stop sharing actually my screen. Oops.
All
Do you-
right, cool. Let's see, are we still there? Okay, sorry. So my name is Sean Rensel. I am, 41. I'm the executive director of Night Lights. We provide respite care for families who have children with special needs. Our program is from ages 0 to 12. And we have 3 locations around the city. We're in the metro area right now, but my goal is to expand to 25 locations over the next 5 years. So I would love to meet anyone who wants to help me in that journey. We are completely volunteer run. We have, so the way we kind of work is we set up a program, usually at a church or something like that. And we, one night a month, volunteers come in. We have background checked all the volunteers. We we have a program where people apply, and so we learn all about what the special need is, and we have a nurse there, and then we have a 1-to-1 volunteer ratio. And so one night a month for 4 hours from 6 to 10, they can bring in their children with special needs and their siblings, and we watch them all. And we create a fun, accepting environment for everybody, and it's really fun. So I think actually what I want to do first, before I get into everything else, is share a video. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. So share, can you guys see that? And hopefully you can hear it. So let's see if you can hear it.
No sound
You're
yet.
here? Any idea how to make it do sound?
Advanced sharing options.
Okay.
Oh. That's not it.
Yeah, it's right next to share screen. There's like a little carrot right next to share screen.
Yeah.
And then there's
Okay.
advanced sharing options.
I don't know if that's how to share your sound though.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, there's when you just click share screen, down in the bottom left, there's a small box that says share
Share sound.
sound.
Okay, I think I have to stop sharing it.
Yeah, you're
Sorry,
right.
everyone.
Sorry, no,
That's
you're totally
okay.
fine.
Oh, here we go. Video settings? No. Okay, let me stop the video and then try that again. No, that's my video.
Bless you.
excuse me, sorry.
Share sound. Got it. Okay, here we go. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, so starting this video over, get your tissues ready because it's a really good video.
Oh.
stories. 4 years ago, we moved to Tennessee to be closer to family. It came down to we needed the emotional support. We just needed someone to love on our family. And it was very difficult. It was exhausting for our family. We could definitely sense, like, the second we were done with whatever it was that we were doing and needed help for that time period, they were ready. They were ready to go. We made the tough decision that we had to come back. I think that was probably the biggest eye-opener, that our life was so different in the scheme of a typical family.
all that kid does is smile and laugh. Like, you just can't help but look at him, and he puts a smile on your face all the time. They're inseparable. You'll just see them, they'll go back in the room to start playing together, and they just disappear for hours.
He doesn't see himself any different than any other 6-year-old. He just wants to do what everyone else is doing.
You're always listening for him because he could just start gagging at any point. So you're always, that's usually when we come running. Change his diaper, change his dressing for the G-tube, get him changed.
You skipped like 5 things.
What's
I was like, there's like 10 things we do in between that. He could wake up on a really rough night, I would say usually about 4 times. Dax receives a pump feeding throughout the night. On a rough night, he doesn't necessarily tolerate the volume that he needs.
He'll get sick, and then hopefully I can catch it in the bucket, but if not, we're talking about a bath and taking all the bedding apart, redoing all that. So those are the rough nights.
Your patience runs very thin. Mainly, I will say, not with Dax or even with Ruby, but with each other.
And there's been several times where we've been like, okay, we should split up, but at the same time, you're thinking one of us can't handle all of it on our own, so it's not even an option, even if you really truly wanted to. You're just so used to it, like taking a break really isn't an option. Our dates are usually afternoon dates when they're at school.
We used to say, we do senior citizen dates. Like between 2 and 4, we go to dinner and we pretend that it's dinner time. We're having to, hire 2 people to come into our house and finding the right 2 people that are comfortable. It just doesn't really happen. It just honestly doesn't line up.
Without the family, there's just zero backup, and we would have friends that would help out with some things, but nobody really felt comfortable taking care of him. And we didn't, it would be too much to ask. There's still no support at this point. It's just really us.
You can tell when they walk in. It's not like they say any words, but you can just tell by the look on their face when they look at each other. It's a long time coming for a lot of these families. Nightlights is a respite program for children with special needs and their siblings. So once a month, parents can drop their kids off and have a night out to do whatever they need to do while their kids come and play. The purpose of Nightlights is twofold. It's a respite time for parents and caregivers, but it's a fun time for these kids too, and we want it to be both of them.
They do both get very excited about the events. We call it a church play date because we also go to church at Discovery. We pick them up and they were so happy. Like Ruby will say, can we please be the last ones to be picked up, please? Like she wants to, it's so far past their bedtime and they are just like living their best life. To have that option available to us at no cost, I don't think you can honestly put like a price tag on that. It's been such a blessing.
All right. So let me make sure. Screen, okay. So yeah, that's what we do. We have 3 locations right now around Denver, in Littleton, Broomfield, and Arvada. Working on new locations in Grand Junction, Denver, Aurora, and hopefully Colorado Springs. I'd like to be all up and down the Front Range and everything. So our challenges are always recruiting volunteers. That has always been the great challenge that we have. So that's why I really like developing good relationships with churches, because when we go into a church, generally that's a really good source of, if they can take kind of ownership of the program, that's a great source of volunteers who are committed for good reasons. And so we like that. The Nightlights has been around for 10 years. And it was started by Kristen Stedman, and she was amazing. She had a child with severe special needs, and she moved on last year, in the middle of last year, to become a nurse. I have been doing ministry at churches for the past 20 years, and so I became the executive director in June of last year. I have 6 boys, all teenagers. well, one of them is 20 now, and two that have autism diagnosis. And so that was my story. And I wish I knew about respite care. Didn't even know about it for 20 years, really, and would have really enjoyed to have access to this when we were young. If my mom hadn't have moved in basically with us, we wouldn't have made it. You know, we needed that support. And so it's definitely my mission to expand respite services, free respite services, to make sure that they're always free. So we fundraise for everything that we do. We have a lot of insurance, the same insurance as a child care facility, even though we only operate one night a month. A couple volunteer things. We've set up a program with University of Colorado Hospital where they send us their doctor students. They send us 9 a month where we background check them and get them set up as normal volunteers. They have to put in a certain amount of volunteer hours. And so we got approved as one of their programs that they send their doctors to. So that's been pretty cool. And yeah, if anyone is interested in our program, families can submit an interest form on our website. Volunteers can submit an interest form on our website. And that's kind of where we start connecting with people, is over our website. And yes, we are doing, we have 2 big events coming up this year. One is a casino night that we're doing at Brewability. You guys know Brewability? It's an awesome kind of brewery here in Lakewood that they employ people with special needs. I love it. And they're hosting a casino night for us on June 2nd. So there's more information about that on our website. And then we have a gala coming up October 21st. So we've implemented, you know, when it comes to volunteers, we've implemented a lot of great. My goal was to improve our volunteer retention when I came in, and so we write handwritten notes to our volunteers after their service every month, just thanking them for the impact that they make. And I think that that's made quite a great impact. Also, having our volunteers come in to observe before they start volunteering, before they fill out the
recording in progress.
That was a good thing that we implemented too, so that they could kind of see what they were getting into before they applied, and that was really positive. People are much more willing to fill out the full volunteer application once they realize that they get to play with amazing kids for the evening. So I guess I can open it up to questions.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Let's see, there's, yeah, we have a few minutes for questions if anyone has any. Is there Brewability's on Broadway, right, in Englewood? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, Hampden and Broadway.
Hampden, that's right, Hampden and Broadway. Okay. I guess if there are no questions for Sean, we can wait a couple minutes here. Yeah.
Question for Sean.
Yeah,
sure.
Sean, are you looking only for medical type volunteers, or are you also looking for just ordinary folks who want to help out?
No, 99% of our volunteers are just anybody. You know, we love having anybody. We just do a background check, and we'll train you how to handle whatever is going to be there. We have a nurse at all our locations, so they handle the medical part. The doctor students, they're actually just there as normal volunteers. They have no medical responsibilities, and they're not allowed to actually, because they're just students. And but they need to learn how community programs work, and so that's why they're involved. So yes, we're looking for everybody's. Grandmas make the best volunteers because they tend to understand what parents have gone through, and they have a real heart for it. So I'm always looking for good grandmas. If anyone's got a good grandma, send them my way.
That's sweet. Thank you, Sean.
And we do have a program, I'll mention, we do have a program called Bright Lights for people, kids aged 12 through 18, since they're too young to do background check. We do have programs at our locations where they can come and be volunteers. They can work with the typical children and be their buddy, and that helps expand our capacity at the programs, as well as gives them a way to volunteer and participate, especially if there's a family that has some teenagers that wants to be involved. Sometimes when siblings age out of the program, they want to become a bright light to keep coming so that they can be a part of it.
Oh, that's really nice. Okay. All right. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you that was a very poignant video. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next speaker is Ethan from Kids at Heart. Ethan, are you ready? Okay. Do you need to have the screen?
Yeah, you can leave that up.
Okay.
I had sent a couple video links. If you can show those, if not, I've got them pulled up. But I'll talk for a minute first.
Okay.
So yeah, good morning, and thanks for joining. I'm Ethan Dexter. I am the executive director with Kids at Heart. I've been in this role since July of last year. Prior to that, I was serving on the board of directors for 5 or so years prior. Kids at Heart was founded in 2001 as a church ministry. In 2016, we transitioned to a 501c3. Really, the origin story is that a family at the church where it was founded adopted a child. Another church member saw, hey, you're never getting a break. Let me help you. Here's dinner and a movie. Let me take your daughters to have a fun night with them. And that was the origin of what we now do. Our program is called, our signature program is called Fundango. Not the movie ticket service, but the Fundango. And we do respite programming every week on Saturdays, short term. For the program called Fundango, it's a 0 to 18, where the parents drop off their kids at 3 o'clock. We have scheduled a bunch of activities where we rotate the kids through art, STEM, games, physical activity, and we serve the kids dinner, and then the kids go home at 7 o'clock. And so what this does is actually a couple of things. It gives the parents a chance to have respite, to take a break, recharge. You know, I enjoy talking with the parents, and I ask them, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I get every answer from I'm going to go back to work, to movie date night, to I'm going to go Costco shopping and I won't have my kids. It'll be a fun time. So we don't really care what the parents do. We just want to give them an opportunity to get that time to themselves. And we also get a chance to give the kids a place where they can just be kids, where they get to be peers with other kids who are in similar life circumstances. We do respite for foster kids, adoptive kids, and kinship kids. And we also include any siblings in that household. So we really do want the parents to get a break, and we want the kids to connect. So if a family of 4 children, for example, has 2 adopted kids and 2 biological kids, all 4 of the kids can come to our event. So that way the parents are getting a break. It's not just half a break. And as I said, we do the programmings on Saturdays. We're partnering with Boys and Girls Club for space, and we alternate different locations in the northern Colorado area between Larimer County and Weld County. And the programming is generally the same. We do different activities every time. We do different art activities, different STEM activities, but we try to keep the same routine because the kids like that. We separate the kids by age, so they're in groups with their peers, so they have similar abilities. So the art project for the 6-year-olds is very different from the art project for the 12-year-olds. And we do that twice a month. And then alternating Saturdays from that, we have a teen program called Teen Connect that we do in conjunction with a group called the Young Ascenders, where we take teenagers and we do some rope climbing with them at the Ascent Gym in Fort Collins. And essentially what we do is it's meant to be fun, but it's meant to be challenging, where the kids see, hey, there's a 60-foot wall in front of me. It seems impossible. And then they get coaching from the climbing coaches, from our staff and Young Ascenders, volunteers, and at the end of the day, they're climbing the wall, and it's amazing the change that they see in themselves. And then we get to take that lesson and talk about how do you apply this to other parts of your life. Like, are there other things that seem hard, but really with some effort and a good group of support, you could do it. And really, why we're here today, we do have some trained staff. We want to make sure that the kids that come are supported, but we really are at least 50 to 60% volunteers that come and help us when we run our activities. We have been figuring out creative ways to bring volunteers back after we had to restructure during pandemic, but kind of like Sean had said, it's a little bit of the personal touch of thanking the volunteers, of making personal phone calls. If we have folks that come 2 or 3 times, I'm also going to give them a card, but also give them like a Starbucks gift card or something just to say thank you. They like to come, but they like to come back because it's a lot of fun. And so if we have the videos, I'll show it. It's only 30 seconds. So is it me or is it you?
It's us. We'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 2 videos, and the preface is because some of our kids are in DHS custody, we can't show any of the kids' faces. And so one of the things that I worked on is how do I show what this program is without breaking the trust of the organization. So we decided to make some videos showing the activities that we're doing during our programming as a way to sort of explain what it is we do. So with that, if you want to play the video.
Were you able to see the whole thing? Okay.
You can play it again. It's only 20 seconds. So.
Cool. We'll do the other one.
All right. So as I like to say, there's no failure. That was just a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
And the rocket flew over.
Makes it fun.
Oh yeah, we didn't see the whole video.
Here, yeah, I can. Wait till it restarts.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah. Very cool videos, Ethan.
Yeah, so I'm the only one who takes video. We don't let people bring their phones into video, but
It's tricky.
I'll capture some stuff like that where you get to see the activities, but not, we're not showing the kids. Because really what we want to do is just show, hey, this is fun. Like these kids, and we do a training beforehand with our volunteers where we explain our trauma informed approach to care, which is positive redirection and setting healthy boundaries and giving the kids choices that align with what we're trying to do. But it's fun. Like the short answer is like these kids come with trauma, but for us, it's just fun. It's a place for them to just have fun and be kids. And we also, as was mentioned earlier, like we allow folks to come for the first event and just kind of check it out, see if they want to do it. And we do background checks, fingerprinting, and then we get people signed up. And honestly, we get a couple folks that have volunteered probably every event this season. But, you know, we also get people who come maybe twice in a 6-month period, and that's okay, because ultimately the kids are there to have fun, and we want adults who will love them to help them have fun. So we have we're always accepting volunteers, and we are looking to try to bring our program to other parts of the state. Right now, we have about 9 kids that come up from the Thornton area to attend the event. So we know there is a population that wants this sort of short-term respite. Our challenge has been the structure of our program is 4 hours, which requires typically 6 hours of volunteer time for an hour setup, 4 hours of service, an hour of cleanup. And that has seemed, it's been a challenge to recruit people to a program they've never been to. And I'm not able to necessarily bring my team who lives in Fort Collins down to the Denver area. So as I was trying to brainstorm about this today, what I was thinking is if anybody has ideas for partnership with churches or with other things, we would love to bring this activity as like a 2-hour event as a way to just introduce it to the community and get a, you know, really a 3-hour time commitment where we could do set up in half an hour, 2 hours of care time, and then a half hour of cleanup as a way to sort of try to grow the service in the area. We have offered summer camps in the past, and we're getting ready to announce some of those dates. But because of the summer camps and our unique niche, I guess, we have families from Parker that reach out to us. I've gotten calls from folks in Durango. Like, I know that what we offer is valuable to these families. We just need more volunteers and really connections to help bring this to the folks who need it. So that's why I was honored to come and talk today, because I'd love to see how can we help each other. I see a thing in the chat, and I was also just going to post my LinkedIn if anybody wants to connect with me on there, and then we could start talking as well. Oh, I did it as a direct message. And, you know, kind of with that, like, I'll take some questions. It's a simple to explain model. We do, you know, I have a program manager that spends hours prepping for each event, and there's some administrative stuff to make sure that the families have filled out forms. So we know about food allergies, and we know about behavior triggers, and we know about things to help us serve the kids better. But when the volunteers show up, really, it's just they are with us for 4 to 6 hours, and then they head out, and everybody typically has a great time, and we do it again 2 weeks later. So yeah, if there are any questions, I'd love to take those, or if anybody wants to connect, you know, I love networking, because that's really where this is partnership to help these kids have the best future that they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any questions for Ethan?
Sorry for my glasses glare. I'll do that.
Oh, no, that's okay. I deal with that all the time. Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions for Ethan, if you think of something, please put it in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ethan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I look forward to hearing the other presentations as well, because I love hearing about what other people are doing, because I feel like we have a lot of opportunity for learning and helping each other. So
absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen again, and there we go. So our next speaker today is Diane from Volunteers of America, Colorado. Diane, are you ready to speak?
You bet. Can I share my screen? I've
yeah. I'm going to stop. I'll stop sharing. I think you have. You should have,
There you go.
yeah. I think you should be good.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this to go to. There we go. That's what I was after.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, lots of really interesting respite varieties, and that's always interesting to hear about. So I'm in northern Colorado, so my program, the Caregiver Support or Caring Companion Program, serves all of all of Larimer County and a little piece of Weld County on the western side as well. So that's Fort Collins, it's Loveland, it's Estes Park, it's the mountain communities, pretty much all the way to the Wyoming border and then to I-25. So, and what we do is we provide non-medical respite for older adults and the folks who are caring for them at home. So we match volunteers, community volunteers with a family who is caring for an older loved one at home. And we ask those volunteers to visit a couple hours a week at the person's home to give that family member a break, and also to provide a social visit for folks who don't get out much. So those are the two main goals that we have for the program. Pretty simple. We do ask our volunteers to provide at least a 6-month commitment. So this is a weekly volunteer gig that is ongoing. So this is, it's a different kind of person than somebody who wants to pop in for an individual sort of volunteering gig. These are the people that we serve. We serve people who are caring for their spouse or partner, adult children who are caring for their parents and maybe also caring for their kids as well. We serve friends and neighbors who act as family members for people who don't have other supports, and often people who are struggling to afford the cost of in-home care. The folks that they're caring for typically have maybe the early stages of dementia, Alzheimer's, may have had neurological diseases, Parkinson's, MS, a stroke, may have vision or hearing or mobility challenges, and they typically aren't able to drive and do require some amount of care. So that's who we're serving. Just talking a little bit about how we do our onboarding process. So we have an initial meeting with our volunteers to assess their interest. We start the background check. We do a social history from them because we're looking to create, a match that's a good fit for the family that we're trying to serve. We ask for additional references because we are leaving these volunteers alone in the homes of people who may potentially be vulnerable, either physically or cognitively. So we want to be careful about that. We have a second meeting where we go over the specifics of the program policies and procedures and ask the volunteers to sign off that they agree to do those things. We do some initial training on the kinds of common disabilities that our folks tend to have and how they might approach those issues. We give them a whole list of activities that might be fun to do. So we have a lot of different ways that we try to support our volunteers in that process. And then we do this matching process. So when the staff, it's me and one other staff member, when we go out to a family's home, we do our initial required paperwork, but then we also do a real deep social history. And when we do that, what we do is we write up these, what we call bios. They're 1-page sort of, here's kind of the person's a little bit about their life history. Here's where they are now. Here's when they'd like to have a volunteer. These people have dogs. These people have cats. These people don't smoke, those kinds of things that volunteers are curious about and want to know about and make decisions on. We're looking at safety concerns for a volunteer when we're in the house. So we're looking to make sure that, let's say if somebody has dementia, that they're not the kind of person who gets super anxious when their family member leaves, and then it puts the volunteer in a position to try to manage that. We don't want to do that for people, that kind of thing. So we're just being careful to look at safety concerns on both ends, because that's really important to us. We are sharing resources with those families. So, we might be connecting them with our area agency on aging, other services, Alzheimer's associations, Dementia Together, different kinds of support groups and things like that people can benefit from. But when we do these write-ups, what we do with them is we don't put in any like, here's their last name, here's their address kind of information, but we do share their life history and kind of where they're at now. And then when we meet with our volunteers that second time, we're sharing those bios with the volunteers, usually within about a 15-minute drive from where they are, that fits the schedule for that volunteer, what they've told us. So then we have an opportunity for them to look at these bios, learn about the people, and then they choose who they want to visit with. And we find when we do that, there's usually more than just like, this is good for my schedule. This is a real deep relationship kind of connection with our volunteers, right? And that's what we're after. So we want to make sure that everybody has good information about each other, and then they try it out and see how it goes. We also do 3 to 4 optional trainings a year and appreciation events. So last year we did this breakfast event at a park, and we did some training on dementia. This is up front there is one of our caregiving families talking about some strategies that they use with our volunteers. We feed them, of course. Sometimes we do little drop-off thank yous, things like that. Trainings can involve, sometimes we do Zoom trainings for people. So we do, last month we did a training on libraries and what the libraries can provide people at home. So this would be important for our volunteers who are visiting folks at home, but also for our families. So we invited everyone to that event so that they could learn about home delivered things and what you can get on your phone and, all of that kind of cool stuff. And then we just do a lot of different appreciation events, thank yous and that sort of stuff. We also send out a volunteer email once a month. This allows me to collect everybody's volunteer hours. And we have a big group of folks, so it's kind of herding cats sometimes to get the volunteers to report their hours. So we, this is one of the ways that we kind of try to make it easy for them. We also include in here, local events that might be of interest to either volunteers or families caring for loved ones, training events that are coming up. And our goal, we welcome our new volunteers on that. And then our goal is always to help them see their kind of collective impact in the work that they're doing together, because each of our volunteers volunteers separately, but they're part of a bigger group that has a bigger collective impact. And we really try to help people see that, it's really important for them to understand you are part of a bigger picture here. So that's part of what we try to do. So yeah, up till now. So we do our data by fiscal year, which runs July through June. And so we're 10 months in as of yesterday. So these are sort of hot off the presses numbers. We've served over 100 caregivers and care recipients with 54 volunteers who have done over 2,000 volunteer hours in that 10-month period, which is a significant amount. We feel like we know we're making a pretty big impact there. But the impact for us really is about how the caregivers and the care recipients feel about the opportunity that they get for that. So for us, our surveys that we do once a year really tell us, how people feel about that. So here, 96% of the caregivers rate the service as excellent. They feel better equipped to deal with stress. And they feel like they've increased their social ties, which, those are our main goals. So that's really important to us that we're doing that work. What I really love is an opportunity when the caregivers actually get to tell us how they feel about things. So these quotes, they mean the most to me, really. And then our volunteers, also feel like they're a part of the group. And these are some things that they've said to us and shared with us. You know, it's really important for us. We understand that our volunteers make this program. We can't do this program without volunteers. It's they who are providing the respite. So we know if we support them properly, then we're doing well. So that's kind of the main gist of the program and what we really appreciate in them. So we really try to make sure they understand how much it means to us, to our families that we're supporting and serving. So I wanted to share, I'm going to go ahead and stop this for a second and share a video if I can. So I want to tell you a little bit about Janet. So Janet is one of our people who receives a volunteer. We call them participants in our program. Janet lives with her daughter and her daughter's family. So Janet was originally she worked in the FBI actually, and so she is a world traveler, and she was one of the first people who started weblogging back in the 90s, right? And so she would write mainly for her family, to like her kids and grandkids, to learn about her experiences, because she traveled all over the world with her job. And so she would blog all about her travels and her experiences with that. And then Janet had a stroke, and you'll be able to tell that she's got some language impairments as a result of that. So that means she has a hard time finding the words she wants to say. She can no longer read. She can no longer write or type. So she has lost the connection to the verbal world. And for her, that was a very important thing. And so she's going to introduce her volunteer and kind of what her volunteer did to sort of help her with that. But the main thing is that the volunteer discovered these blog entries and started reading them back to her. And it kind of re-reminded her about her previous experiences in the world, and it really meant a lot to her. So we're going to show you that. Let's see.
I'm Janet from Loveland. Okay, well, my daughter at first wanted someone to come and talk with me because she knew that I always was available to make stories and everything. So she invited someone in, and it happened to be another Janet. Well, when Janet came along, the two Janets here, she gave me a way to be able to go back into the story that I wrote, and then she helped to continue to look into it and to talk to it and to say, Janet, what else do you want to see today? And so we will sit there and then the stories come out that I created in the time when I was not ill. And so other things that could be creating came alive again. And I was so lucky that she came.
Well, and it made me realize what a really wonderful writer she was.
Oh.
And but that her life was not over when she stopped being able to write.
Yeah.
So I had been a newspaper reporter, so when we start talking about things, all of a sudden, oh, that could be another story to add to her life.
Exactly.
Of what she's still living.
Yes.
That she can't write down, but that I can write down for her.
Yeah.
And then read it, and we'll add it to her story.
And she only does it exactly how I ask her to do it. And then it works out so beautiful because I know now in my head, even though I can't, I know that that story is still going on. And it was so important for me to make that in the very beginning. It was me. It was everything about me.
Yeah, so you can see the impact that volunteer is having on her life. It really means the world to her, to have her there and to help her engage in something that has meaning for her. So that's, I mean, how can you get better than that, right? So that is basically what we do at the Caring Companion program here in Northern Colorado.
I just wanted to read a comment, Diane. It says from Kim Watts. She says, "I love this, such a new and rich way of looking at the volunteer process for adults." So
yeah, I mean, for us, we really know that if the volunteer feels like they're making a real contribution to the support of that family, and the caregiver feels like they can get a break, and the person they're visiting with feels like it's a friendship, then that's, you know, that's how we know we've hit the right sweet spot for everything. So it really it's a lovely thing to watch.
well, thank you so much for joining us today, Diane. And we just have a few, if there are any questions for Diane or any other comments, please feel free to put them in the chat. I think we'll, let me share my screen again. I'm just gonna, thank you again, Diane. Okay, where am I? So our next speaker is, sorry, everything's like on top of each other, is Jake Dresden from A Little Help. And Jake, are you?
I'm here.
All right, great. Nice to see you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Greetings. My name is Jake Dresden. I am the Metro Denver Director at A Little Help, and happy to be here this morning and share a little bit more about who we are and what we do, and focus a little bit on our volunteer program. I will say, you know, it's a nice transition from what Diane just talked about with the VOA program, because we also, our mission is to serve older adults. It works a little bit differently than the way they operate, but the point is similar, is that we're dedicated to serving older adults throughout Colorado. Megan, I think I'm going to try to share my screen. I've got a PowerPoint. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, you should be able to have access.
Bring it up here. Okay.
Do I need to stop sharing?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Under view options, you can like go to someone else's screen.
Okay, there we go.
Everybody see that?
Yes.
Excellent. So yeah, like I said, Jake Dresden from A Little Help. You know, hopefully some of you have heard of us before. We are a volunteer organization, much like everybody else here, dedicated to helping older adults in our communities. And so basically, we're coming close to about 20 years in operation. We started in 2005 down here in my neck of the woods in the Washington Park neighborhood of Denver. And we started as an organization called Wash Park Cares, and then we turned into A Little Help in 2007 and have been growing kind of steadily ever since. As I mentioned before, our mission is connecting neighbors to help older adults thrive. We serve primarily people that are 55 and above, but we have some members in our community that are younger than that may have a disability that we feel like we can serve and connect them to these volunteers that we have. I don't think I have to tell all of you the reasons that we need to serve older adults, but you know, some of the other things that we feel like are very important is to keep older adults in their homes as long as possible. And the reasons are myriad. Financially, for many older adults who may own their homes, the thought and prospect of moving into assisted living before they're ready is extremely expensive. It's also much better for a lot of people socially and emotionally to stay put and stay in their homes where they've lived for a long time. And we also feel it's a lot better for our communities to be more intergenerational and have people of all ages. And so that's kind of what we do and why we are in operation. I would love to say that we created this model ourselves, but we didn't. You may be familiar with what's called the village movement, and A Little Help is a village in the United States. And the village movement, and a village basically is any organization that is volunteer driven that serves older adults. And so there are villages in every state of America, and there is a website called the Village to Village Network where you can punch in a zip code and see what other villages are around. We get calls frequently from people around the country, wanting to know, like, oh, this is cool, but my parents live in Cincinnati. Is there anything like that there? And so we refer them to that movement. I will, just to brag a little bit, A Little Help is the largest by far in the country. And you'll see the numbers in just a little bit. So people call us all the time wanting to know how to get something like this off the ground. So in our community, you may have heard some of these terms already. Our older adults that are part of our community that go through a process, which I'll explain, are called members. And they receive help from our volunteers. And our volunteers are called helpers. And it's important to point out that they're of all ages. We have volunteers that are in their 90s, and we have volunteers all the way down to one of my daughter's ages, who's 12 and she's in middle school. So we are a completely intergenerational community of people that interact with each other. I'm the Metro Denver director, and we serve all of Metro Denver. We have volunteers and members in all 6 counties. And that's where we started, and that's where our sort of operational hub is. But we have a very robust Northern Colorado operation with multiple staff in Fort Collins, Loveland, Berthoud, and we are actually launching in Weld County next weekend with an event there. So we're kind of moving into different spheres in Northern Colorado, and we've been operating on the Western Slope for about 5 years as well. We launched in Grand Junction last year and have been operating in the Roaring Fork Valley for about 4 or 5 years. We've had satellite offices in different parts of the state as well, and those have branched off and kind of gone and done their own things. In terms of our community for members, so if a person who's 55 and above hears about us, and people hear about us all the time and call us, we have an application process. We make sure that what they're looking for, which I'll go over in a little bit, is something that we can provide. And we also try to make sure that we have volunteers in their area. And so after that's kind of gone through, we onboard those people. We send out a high-level volunteer to have a home visit. And then they can start calling us with requests for things that they might need fulfilled. About 5 years ago, we switched our membership model to a pay what you can model. We used to have a membership fee when we were younger and we didn't have the revenue streams that we do now. And so now when a member comes on board, we basically say, if you can make a donation to us at some point, that would be great. If you can't, we'll serve you just the same. So we have people all across the spectrum. It's a very large tent and very diverse. In terms of our volunteers, which is kind of, I think, what Aaron wanted me to focus on a little bit, we do have an application process that they go through. It's pretty painless. It kind of asks a couple questions about what they're interested in doing. The main part of it is that we background check all of those volunteers to make sure they're in it for the right reasons. Once that happens, they have access to a portal. If you see the image up above, that's kind of a map feature where volunteers can go on and browse and try to find things that they want to do in their neighborhoods. And once they find things that they like, they can accept a request, and then they get the member information. They initiate and call that member and say, hey, I'm Jake from A Little Help. I saw that you needed help washing your windows. Well, when are you available? They go over and do that, and they report back to us if there's anything that needs to be done. You'll notice there's a motor vehicle record. One of the key services that we provide is transportation, primarily to doctor's appointments. As you can imagine, a lot of older adults are not really confident driving around Metro Denver anymore, or actually other parts of the state. So we have volunteers that will take them door to door And not just to doctor's appointments. We'll take them to the grocery store, to the bank, and then to things that are a lot more lighthearted. You know, we'll take them to go see a movie or go to get ice cream or what have you. It is really, really important for us, as you can imagine, that we are acutely aware that we need to be volunteer friendly. So as a volunteer, when you join with us, you can pick and choose as much or as little as you want to do. We have our Uber volunteers who do 2 or 3 requests a week, and then we have people that do 2 or 3 things a year. And that's fine for us. We want to make sure that people can do it. It's convenient for them and it's meaningful. That Help Connect portal is that's that image you see above where volunteers can find opportunities. You may be wondering what we provide. Here's kind of a menu of things that we generally provide. It's not limited to this, but as I mentioned earlier, transportation to appointments and to the grocery store. We do a ton of work around the house. It's something that volunteers can do that's pretty flexible. So yard work, snow shoveling, all those things there. We do indoor work too, kind of light housekeeping and organization. As you can imagine, during COVID, that was kind of curtailed. So we had to be kind of careful about what it is that we accept there. I mentioned snow shoveling errands. We do tech help. So we have a lot of older adults that might call us and say, hey, I just got an iPad. I want to talk to my grandkids in Philadelphia. I don't know how to use FaceTime. And then we have volunteers that are tech coached and trained that will either do that over the phone or in person. We do pet walking. That should say dog walking, because I don't know any other pets that you need to walk. So that's a little bit of a typo. And then we have a program called Kindness Kits that a lot of groups engage in, where they'll come and create a whole sort of goodie bag and deliver it to our older adults that are especially isolated as a kind of surprise. And we have groups that will go out and do 20 or 30 at a time. We also do lots of programming. It's not just based on requests and tasks. And I do want to make this point at this time. This is a respite coalition. And as you can look, there are lots of tasks on there, but everything that we do is based on connection. Okay, whether you're taking somebody to the doctor or washing their windows or helping them go through old photo albums, all of that provides respite for caregivers. It also provides connection, and that's really important to us. I should mention as well that we have a whole program called Care Calls and Friendly Visits, where members just might want some connection. They might be lonely, they might be isolated, they may have lost a spouse or a partner or what have you, or they just might be real social and they want to connect. And so we do that all the time. In terms of our programs, we have picnics in the summer where usually 100 and 150 people will show up at a park. We do monthly volunteer chats where people can kind of drop in and get some coffee or get a beverage at a happy hour. We do Little Talks, which is a seminar where we bring in experts on issues related to aging on a monthly basis. So, things like, when do you give up the keys, or the importance of maybe having a pet, or, how do you proceed to fill out a will? And then we'll do things that are kind of more lighthearted, called virtual excursions, where, people are interested in what it would be like to travel to Spain. We'll have some travel agents and we'll do some cooking and some cocktails. So things that are festive as well. And then our signature event is called Service Saturday, where we have a big event all throughout the state. I think 8 events per season in the fall, where we rally like 300 or 400 volunteers to a local high school or church parking lot, have coffee and donuts, rah-rah speeches, and then people go out and do yard work. And then we have a big celebratory lunch. So lots of stuff going on, lots of ways to engage. I'll keep rolling through. I think I've mentioned or alluded to this, most of the stuff is done by individual volunteers that go through that process and then pick up requests through our portal. But we do have lots of groups that will come out, especially doing yard work. I have 2 groups going out today, Charles Schwab and a school, that are going out this afternoon to do yard work. We have groups that do these kindness kit programs. And so if you have a group that's interested, they don't have to go through the background check. They can just fill out a simple digital registration. So lots of different ways to get involved. You might be curious about how big we are. So we have 1,700 older adults that are part of our community as members. Those are people that can call in with requests on a regular basis throughout the state. We have 3,500 background check volunteers that are in our system. 2,500 of those are in Metro Denver. I communicate with them kind of a regular basis and let them know what's going on. And then in 2022, we provided 15,000 unique services. So people are going out and doing things every day to help our older adults. This is actually a bunch of football players from South High School, where my daughter goes to school. They come out twice a year and provide yard work to older adults in our communities. I kind of alluded to all this stuff. These are just programs that we have. Service Saturday, Ditch the Desk is for groups that want to come out and do those programs all throughout the year. People, we rely on donations from individuals, from foundations, from businesses. We have sponsorship opportunities, workplace giving. There's lots of different ways. If you're curious and you have an organization that wants to get involved and support what we do, please reach out to me. And then just testimonials. It's really important for us to hear our older adults and hear what, what's important to them and also what kind of impact we have. And so that's the best part of our job, is that we have all these grateful older adults that come to us and tell us how much it means to us. And I'll just tell you my personal story with a little help. Everybody has a story, is that I'm a reformed middle school teacher and principal. I did that for 20 years before A Little Help, and I used A Little Help to find volunteer opportunities for my school. And I should mention, we have tons of schools that are involved with us that have clubs, high schools, middle schools, and the school that I work for partnered with A Little Help. And then when I decided to step out of teaching and education, I decided to jump into A Little Help and help a different segment of society. My family, my wife and girls and I have been volunteering with A Little Help for about 10 years. And I will say, kind of one of the cool stories is that we became friends with 3 ladies that were in their upper 90s that were in our neighborhood. And they were all friends since elementary school, and they stayed in their homes with help from A Little Help until their upper 90s. And it's just really heartwarming. My daughters became really good friends with them. They would go over and help them in their garden, bring over pastries, bring our dog over. And so, it's really important for me to also say that volunteering and membership is a reciprocal relationship. We try to blur the lines between who gives and receives service, because we feel like the people providing services, our volunteers and helpers, get as much out of it as our members. And so that's really important to us. This is all just gobbledygook in terms of how to get involved with us. You can check us out on social media. You can visit our website. The application process is pretty painless and straightforward. Just more pictures of people interacting in our neighborhoods. And there's my contact information. I do believe I put that in the chat there. If people want to reach out, the easiest way is just to ping me with an email, and love to chat with whomever about partnership. So Aaron, I think that's about it for me, and happy to answer questions. Sorry if I went too long. Sometimes I get all juiced up after my morning coffee. So
Thank you, Jake,
no worries.
so much. And go Ravens.
Yes.
My daughter's in South too, so.
Go Ravens.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Jake?
Or anyone.
Or anyone, I guess. Yeah, we're at the end of our speakers. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Oh, there was a, let's see. I was then when we were rebels, yes. Yes. Okay, whoops. Okay, so apologies, everybody. Okay, so we're just gonna I think end it there. Do we have anything else to discuss today? I think we're gonna end a little early. Oh, is there? Okay, can you help me with that? Because I can't see.
Wondering if there are many respite services offered near Summit County from A Little Help or Volunteers of America. Jake or Diane, can you speak a little bit about anything you know of in Summit County?
Unfortunately, A Little Help is not in Summit County. I would say, trying to think, I can do a little research. Like I said, I don't believe there's a village in that neighborhood. The one resource I would point you to that's kind of a more mountain, older adult facing organizations called Vintage. So if you look up Vintage, they support our work in Grand Junction and Roaring Fork Valley, but I don't know if they're boundary restricted in terms of Summit County. So I would look up Vintage.
Oh, wait.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of to suggest would be to speak with the Area Agency on Aging to see if they have at least respite vouchers. That might be a possibility, so you could hire someone and get some assistance that way. That would be about the only thing I can think of. We're not in Summit County either, so.
Thanks, Diane. That's Vintage is the Area Agency on Aging. That's how they brand themselves. And actually Roger works for Vintage, who asked the question. But, that being said, I know that there's a lot of respite need in Summit County, also in Eagle County and some of the mountain communities that Vintage serves. So if there were any way to get some kind of a volunteer program started, from one of the schools. I mean, I think about all the high schools in Vail, for example, like Vail Christian and some of those high schools, they have to have volunteer requirements, I would think, or engagement. It would be great if there could be maybe some high school engagement that would that could maybe get some volunteer-based programming started for both for older adults and for kids. For all these programs. So if there was a way to figure out some kind of a program, I would think maybe starting at a high school level and seeing if there's folks that are looking for kids who are looking for volunteer hours, stuff to put on their college applications, for example, it could be a great place to start to get some more respite going in communities.
And Corin had another question, similar question, if VOC or Little Help offers services in Western Boulder County, for Jake or Diane?
We do not. There is a Boulder County organization called, testing my memory right now. Let me look it up real quickly and I can put it in the chat.
Yeah, we aren't yet in Boulder County either, so same.
And then Erin did put go ahead.
Yeah, I just happened to have the Summit County resources handy. We had to put it together for an event recently. So I had the respite services we know of in that area. And then Corin, I put a link to our resource finder in there. I just don't have the list handy, but I'll look into it also. But yeah, if there's anyone there that we know if they're listed in our resource finder.
I just want to ask, Erin or Amy, do you have any final thoughts today, or are we?
Just that I will send a follow-up email with information about the regional coalitions and a recording to this meeting and information about all the grants that we talked about.
And that you can see also on the slide on the screen. So
yeah, nothing really from me. I hope that this has been inspiring and thinking about how volunteers can support programs. And as Corinne said, Corinne recognized it's still not easy to get volunteers. COVID really took a big whack. I know from the experience of the area agencies on aging, they rely a lot on volunteer support for home delivered meals and for congregate meals. And many of those volunteers stopped volunteering at the height of the pandemic. And I know that they haven't returned to prior levels too, that we're still working on that. So it's not necessarily easy to get volunteers, but if you start small, start with one community, a high school or a church or something like that, and think of maybe one program that you can you can start as like a pilot, then it could be that you're able to then generate a little bit of momentum if you just start little. So it seems like, oh, I could never have a volunteer supported program because I don't have enough volunteers, but you might be surprised how, word of mouth travels, and how, if you start in a particular community, then it can spread from there.
Yeah.
So these programs, I think, were just so cool. It was really great to hear about programs that both support kids and also programs that support older adults. And, part of the reason we talked about grants is if you need money too to get some of these things going, then we hope to continue to be a resource to share about different opportunities. Our respite grant can't be for a startup program necessarily. However, if you have a program existing, you already deliver respite, and you want to build on that program and maybe do something that's in addition that's a little bit different, that would be still eligible. It's just not brand new respite providers who aren't providing any respite. So, if you have an idea for starting a volunteer program and maybe you think those grant funds could support you, perhaps it's worth thinking about and submitting an application to get that support to do something like a pilot. And as Diane said too, there's lots of other service organizations that you can connect with as well that might be willing to partner and offer up volunteers, or at least spread the word about volunteer opportunities. So anyway, I just wanted to say I think this is a really great presentation from all the folks who participated, and I hope that it generates some ideas and inspiration. Thanks, Megan.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. I wanted to say too that I know, I don't want to speak for Erin, but I think I can say that we are all really, really grateful and pleased that you joined us today. And we continue learning about the services that are out there, and like I said, just really great meeting. So I really, truly appreciate everyone for joining us today. And I think that's it. Okay. Well, we'll give you like about a half hour back. Thank you so much.
And we'll see you in August for the next one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And yeah.